When it comes to software delivery is not complicated. It's complex. And we can only really understand it by doing it and getting feedback as we're doing it. So you need to understand the difference between complicated and complex. Traditional project management is great for complicated. It's fine. You can build a phone that way. Complex is, I'm not going to learn it until I get into it and do it. And this is where traditional project management approaches begin to fail.
If you're struggling to transition from traditional project management to thriving in an agile environment, this interview is going to cover key items that will help provide actionable strategies to help you excel. Today, I am excited to welcome someone who is a game changer in the agile community. Mike was part of a team that pioneered the world's first on-demand IC Agile affiliated course with over 16 agile certifications, thousands of professionals trained, and professional recognitions. Mike's insights have reshaped how enterprises upskill workforce. So this is the Life and IT Project Management YouTube channel, where we bridge the gaps between life and IT project management with practical, relatable content for aspiring IT PMs and seasoned professionals alike. Please join me in welcoming Mike Lyons.
Hey, Justice, how are you today?
I'm doing great, and you?
I'm well, thank you so much. What a treat to get to spend time with you and talk about project management, the life of IT project managers, and that's something I'm quite passionate about. So thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. I will head straight into the questions. I will start with the first question, which will be, what is Agile project management, and how does it fundamentally differ from traditional project management?
Well, there's a bit of an argument in the industry that, this idea that how can you have an agile project, and what is an agile project manager? It's an interesting sort of conundrum. I like to describe it this way, that most organizations are realizing they have to be adaptive. They have to be lowercase a agile. Just the marketplace is so competitive, and if you're not able to sense and respond quickly, your competitor will, and you'll find yourself struggling to keep up or even to stay in business. And so within that, we like to consider how companies do that with their projects. And there's this idea that in order to deliver a project on time, on scope, on budget, our sort of three core tenets as project managers, that we still have to be able to respond to change. So agile project management is the idea of taking the traditional approach to project management, which includes being on time, on scope, on budget, and then being able to be responsive to change as quickly as possible. And we really think there's three shifts that people need to make in order to become an agile project manager. We simply don't have extended periods of time to have a change come through a system that has to go back up the project chain for approval to get implemented. Now listen, I'm not saying that project management is against change. Who would ever say that? Everyone gets it. Change happens. We're just saying let's make it as easy as possible to respond to that change and adapt our project to meet that, regardless of what it said, 8 months ago or 18 months ago. So that's kind of the idea of agile project management, a little more adaptive, a little more responsive, and still yet delivering to those outcomes.
Thank you so much. It's basically saying we are moving from sort of like a plan-driven project management to, an adaptive approach. Basically, that's what it is.
Yeah, I sum it up this way: who cares if you're on time, on scope, on budget if nobody wants what you built? It won't matter. So project managers, let's not evaluate success by scope, time, and budget, because who cares? All that matters is are people buying the stuff I'm selling? That's it. That's all organizations care about. They do not care about your Microsoft project plan. The boardroom is not sitting around wondering if your Gantt chart is accurate. No, man. They're looking at top line revenue growth, bottom line cost reduction. We call that profit. Do that. Get more of that. Microsoft project, I don't care about that. So that's my soapbox there for the first 30 seconds of your podcast, man.
That's fantastic. And this is Life and IT Project Management. So So listeners will get to hear a real feedback. And I love the fact that you gave a very real feedback there. That leads us to the next question. So for traditional project managers, you find yourself in an agile environment. One of the first things that hits you, the lingo hits you, and you're like, I don't understand this. I don't know. I was still in a meeting a few days ago, and that was the issue. So first of all, what terms and concepts should traditional PMs understand when moving into an agile environment?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I often joke with people, if you've ever met a scrum master at like a cocktail party, and it's, tell me what you do for a living, and they say, I'm a scrum master. You kind of like, laugh. Scrum master? Did you just make that word up? Like, what does that even mean? Scrum? Well, that's weird. But that's just one of many, many terms within the agile lexicon that people will use. But some key ones that I would wonder aloud with our traditional project managers is this idea of iterative approaches to deliver, this idea that we're going to iterate on a solution. So you hear this word a lot, iterate. Well, all that means is we're going to build a little bit, and then we're going to inspect and adapt, and then we're going to iterate on that and build a little bit more of it. That's just this sort of approach, this iterative approach to development. We're going to learn and the other bit on that is putting things in time boxes. So you might hear this term sprint sometimes. All that means is like a length of time by which we're going to break our work into. In fact, Scrum calls that, you can think of it as small projects even. You want to be careful with that one, but you could. And then there's a bunch of like accountabilities, we call them, or roles. And this exists within Scrum, where you've got this Scrum Master accountability, the idea of someone who's teaching people how to do Scrum and coaching and things like that. And then you've got a product owner. This is another Scrum accountability. But all that is, project managers, all that is someone who can order the work that we're going to do, put it in order, and be that voice of the user, voice of the customer. We don't even, you may not call them product owners. This is a pretty common industry term. And then you've got like the team members. This is another accountability in Scrum. Let me just, we could go on and on, but let me just say this to help. I hope it helps. Agile is sort of like an umbrella term for multiple approaches, practices, disciplines, methodologies to delivering in a way where we can sense and respond and inspect and adapt more quickly to changes. And it includes things like Scrum or Kanban or extreme programming or there's a myriad of other approaches that are based on this idea of rapid feedback, rapidly responding to changes, and then building the right thing. So Agile is very much an umbrella term, and there's way too many terms to try to describe within that.
Of course. So basically, for any traditional PM, it will be beneficial if they have encountered some specific methodology, right? Some specific agile methodology, right? That's great. But once they find themselves on a project, they first of all need to find out, okay, fine, what methodology is embraced here? Is embraced here? Right. What terms? They get to understand that before they even begin to say the wrong things or do the wrong things.
I think you hit on something very important there, and that's that once you find yourself project manager, once you find yourself on an Agile implementation where they're using Agile ways of working, it's perfectly reasonable to ask, what are the Agile ways of working we're using? And you're going to get some response like, oh, well, this is a Scrum implementation. Okay, well, then you right out of the gate, you know that there are 3 accountabilities, 5 events, and 3 artifacts. You're going to need to know them. Visit scrumguides.org. It's not very much. Just it's a quick read, and you'll be in. Now, if they say they're doing Kanban, okay, well then you need to move Scrum over here because that's not the same thing, and go read all about Kanban, because now you're going to need to understand about how work flows through systems and lead time and other sort of flow-based metrics. It's a different approach. But this is widely available for free for you to consume quickly. Scrum, Kanban, which are Scrum's the biggest, followed by Kanban. They're simple. They're simple. It gets more complex as you implement, but they're simple to understand. Everyone would agree they're simple. And the last thing here, Justice, I want to make sure I call this back to because I didn't mention it. It is important for you to be familiar with the Agile Manifesto. And you can visit agilemanifesto.org. There are 4 values that we as Agile delivery people that we cling to. They're old. They've been around like 21, 22 some odd years now. Longer, actually. They're written in 2001. 4 values. Highly recommend memorize those values. Responding to change over following a plan, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. You'll see them. There's 4 values. There are 12 principles behind the Agile Manifesto. You should be familiar with those as well. But that is a mindset thinking, like how we think about work, which is great. Project managers, you should know what these values are. I remember the first time I read them, Justice. It was 2006. I was working on a traditional project manager, multi-year plan-driven implementation in the state of Colorado. We'd been there for months, and we were talking about system shall statements. Okay, project managers in the room, you know what I'm talking about. When the user clicks on the drop-down menu, the system shall return a list of all the counties within Colorado. And someone says, oh, wait a minute. What if the user uses their mouse and tab over and uses arrow? Okay, the system shall, when the user selects, well, I don't know if we can say the word select, which should be the click. And for an hour, we're arguing about should the system say click or select in a requirements document. How stupid. What a waste of time. What if instead we just built it and showed you, is this what you want? And I was on a break from this requirements gathering, session, and I read the Agile Manifesto. It was posted on an IT conference. I remember reading the 4 values and I was like, this is better. This is easier. This is faster. This is actually more valuable to me. And it changed my career, man. 2006, it just literally changed my career from a traditional project manager to now moving into just Agile delivery. And I do it in projects. I do it in products. It doesn't really matter. But my approach changed based on the Agile Manifesto. So there's a little bit I wanted to add to that.
Fantastic. As a traditional project manager, get a hang of the enterprise basically supports a specific methodology. The next thing that begins to happen, we start speaking to blockers, removing blockers and impediments and all that. Now, blockers will be under challenges, basically. So that leads me to the next question. What challenges do traditional project managers typically face when transitioning to an Agile methodology?
Yeah, I know for me, because being a traditional project manager, I would say the first one is I was very used to being the one who was sort of calling all the shots, Hey, look, we're on this part of the work breakdown structure and we're coming up into the Thanksgiving holiday. So we should be 80% complete with requirements gathering. And on this particular requirement, we should have had this particular, and I'm reading, and so I would say, meet with people. Where are you at? I even wait in their cubicles back in the days of going to the office. Hey, Sarah, you're supposed to be here. Why aren't you done yet? Sort of, calling all the shots, as it were. But one major shift people need to make is the shift from managing people to managing systems. You mentioned blockers. Instead of saying, where are you at on this project plan? I need to look at the system in which people are operating in and make that system actually more efficient. So instead of interrogating people, I interrogate systems. Well, what do I mean by systems? Well, I mean, all of those hierarchical approval processes you have that work has to go through, those change advisory boards that meet every other Tuesday, that's a problem. That's a system. You should fix that. I mean, all of those signed documents that have to go up for reporting back and take time away from actual work, that's the system. I mean that red, yellow, green dashboard that is just a obnoxious waste of everybody's time. You need to do away with that because we're gonna that's managing the system. Now, why do you need to do away? I say that tongue in cheek. Why do you need to do away with that? Because in Agile, we base our milestones, we base our progress on working software, not on percent complete. No. We move away from percent complete. We move to working software in production. So your dashboard can't keep up with my software. So don't do the dashboard. Just push the software out and let me look at the software. Remember the system shall if the user selects.
Yeah.
Forget all that nonsense. Just here it is. Is this what you want? Oh, it's not? Okay, well, is this what you want? I can do those things really fast as long as you don't make me go through the 2-week-long cab process that is theater anyway. So shift one, move from managing people to managing systems. And that's going to be the big blocker, I think, for most project managers.
Thank you so much. Beyond managing, beyond the challenge of that mindset shift, managing systems as opposed to people, when we speak of traditional project management methods, let's make it very simple. Like, you want to go by just Waterfall, right? And you've been on a project, you've executed a project before, you're doing the same type of project again, same org, same line of business, and you're thinking, we'll just go about it the Waterfall way, just straight up, right? Nothing significant and new happening here. So basically like plan-driven project management. Why might that traditional project management method, for example, struggle to adapt in an agile setting? Like, if the context does change, if anything does change the context, and transitions or begins to transition to an agile setting, why would such method struggle?
Yeah, it has everything to do with it's just not fast enough. It's not that traditional project management, and let's make sure we're defining this appropriately, right? So you can plan the work, and if nothing substantially changes, we'll just work the plan. Plan the work the plan. And that is an excellent approach for things that are complicated. Complicated meaning, okay, it may be difficult, but we have the right sort of approach. We've done it before. For example, building out this particular mobile device. It's complicated. You and I probably don't know how to do it, but we've done it over and over and over. It's a repeatable process to build this piece of hardware. That's fine for a traditional project management approach. Not much is going to substantially change when I build that device. Again, it's complicated, but it's repeatable. It's knowable. I can understand it. When it comes to software delivery is not complicated. It's complex. It's unknowable. And we can only really understand it by doing it and getting feedback as we're doing it. So you need to understand the difference between complicated and complex. Traditional project management is great for complicated. That's fine. You can build a phone that way. Complex is, it's unknowable. I'm not going to learn it until I get into it and do it. And this is where traditional project management approaches begin to fail. Only for the reason they're too slow. It's just too slow. The updating the project plan, it has to go to an approval board for approval. Did we ask the right questions? We need to get better at gathering requirements. No, we don't. We don't need to get better at gathering requirements. We need to build something and see how it worked and then get feedback and then build again. And so the answer to your question is traditional is fine for complicated. Agile is going to be the proven and better method for complex.
Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. And that also now leads me to the next question, which is sort of like a flip on it. So how does Agile then address specific issues like customer needs, adaptability, right? Speed, team collaboration compared to traditional approaches?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you think about like, even if we all agreed that somehow, traditional project management can't keep pace with today's technology. Okay, well then how is Agile, how does it do it? And it really comes down to a couple quick hits, and I'm gonna give them to you now. Number one, agility is going to help us shorten the feedback loop. I'm going to, in some cases, daily be working with my customer to say, is this what you want? Is this what you want? Every day. So the feedback loop is crazy fast, multiple times a day. The second thing it's going to require us to do is to decrease our batch size. Okay, this is an interesting, what the heck does that mean? Well, a batch could be anything. It could be the size of your team. It could be the number of handoffs. It could be the pieces of work. Well, we want to decrease that batch size so that number 3, we can decrease our lead time. So now we're to the faster part of your equation. I have shorter lead times because of the first 2 things I did. Shorten the feedback loop, shrink the batch size, and from that I'm going to get quicker lead times. And lead time is just, let's not overcomplicate it. It's the idea that when I start to work a thing, that I'm done with the thing. That's lead time. It includes all the time you're waiting. Okay. So I want to decrease that lead time, and I do it between, shortening the feedback loop, making smaller batches. Now I've got shorter lead times. Now I'm pushing production out. I'm pushing software out to production more frequently. I'm gathering. And once again, that's another feedback loop. Oh, that's interesting. What did we learn? Well, let's do a small batch fix of that. And now we're flowing and I'm pushing it back out, constantly working in that sort of environment. This is how we tick the boxes of your question. Then those are sort of 3 things that come top of mind to me.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that. So basically, for any traditional PM, the question really was, how does Agile address the specific concerns, right? The benefits of being Agile, and you've spoken to the constant contact with, quote unquote, the product owner or product manager.
The customer. It's the customer I care about. You can have a product owner be the voice of the customer if you want, but whatever it is, I want the people using the product to tell me about the product. I don't want to make stuff up based because I wrote a document about it 3 years ago. None of that.
Right. Then you've spoken to the constant feedback loop, managing the lead time and all that, enhancing team collaboration so that what is valuable is the only thing that is safe, right? Working software. Now, overall, I know that before we've spoken to the traditional PM, getting on board, understanding what Agile methodologies has at play, then also understanding how that Agile methodology benefits the work he's about to do. Overall, and this question might link to the other ones you've answered before, but maybe you have a broader perspective. The question is, what steps can traditional PM take successfully adjust, like to shorten also the lead time, to shorten the time for him to get up to speed and become really truly part of the team and become successful?
Yeah, well, I think it does tie back to something we mentioned, that first shift. We're going to shift from managing people, calling all the shots, to managing systems and systems of work. Another way for that is, manage the work, not the worker. That's going to be a big first step. But I think that there's another component to that too, and a little bit of it's maybe getting familiar with the agile ways of working and what are some of the terms are. But it's another shift. It's shift from manager accountability to team accountability. It's an important aspect where we're thinking about like the role of the project manager in complex systems. Okay, there's a relationship between the manager and the people that is different for them. So I think this is another sort of next step, is begin to think about your role as a manager as more of a manager of work, not people. It's not that you don't have a responsibility there, of course, but it's more about making sure that the people are getting what they need, and less about like, what is the status of this item or that item, and sort of my earned value delivery metrics. It's a critical piece to understand when we start thinking about how this role needs to change from manager to agile sort of delivery lead. And so like one thing that comes to mind for me is the idea of how we let the teams self-organize. So this is going to be weird for you project managers. It's like you might even have your project plan where you had your team members, and here's my tech lead, and here's my business analyst, and this person reports to that person. Well, in Agile, we really don't care about that. We just really don't. In fact, we want nothing to do with organizational structure and sort of career badging. Like, we call them badgeless teams, in fact. No, we have a group of people, and we're going to give them a chunk of work, and we're going to let them self-organize around that work and figure out who should work on what and how to go about working on it. All we need to do is just make sure the list is in priority order so they know what's first most important, what's next most important. We need to give them dates. So give them boundaries. We're big fans of dates. Love that. Lock in your dates. And then they're going to keep us informed of how they're doing by saying, is this what you want? And delivering software in a regular cadence. So again, it's that idea, that move from manager accountability, like you're the one calling those shots, to team accountability. So that's the second shift that we would describe as that folks need to make.
Awesome. And that shift is very difficult because
Absolutely.
I have been on projects where you have both project manager and scrum master.
Sure.
And the project manager comes forward and says, to be honest with you, I truly don't understand why there's you and there's me on this project.
Like, oh, yeah.
Why do we have a team, basically a servant leader and a project manager? That basically confuses traditional project managers, right? But through time, and getting leadership support, they get to understand, okay, fine, the roles are not the same at all. One was born to manage one, the other serves the people, and champions the methodology to help them deliver value quickly, right? So there's those two are different, very different.
Absolutely. You're hitting on a very important concept here. It's, and I've seen that struggle as well. Just to make sure we're kind of put a fine point on it. Scrum Master is responsible for making sure the team knows all of the rules of Scrum and how Scrum works. So first of all, there's even an assumption there that Agile approaches are using Scrum. You don't have to use Scrum to do Agile. Scrum is just one way. If you do Scrum, you need someone in the accountability of Scrum Master, and that's not a long-lived role. Like, you don't need to hire for that. It's an accountability. It's a big difference between the word role and accountability. And when Scrum, we're specific. It's an accountability. Anybody can do it. And once the team knows all the rules of Scrum, like, you don't need a Scrum Master anymore. And that's it. It's that simple. Now, project managers, I need you. I need you. Please don't go anywhere. Like, we need you for the whole project. Once the teams are totally like hitting it on all cylinders on Scrum, that Scrum Master accountability becomes very, very small. So that's just an interesting construct that you brought up, and I wanted to mention that to your point, they're two significantly different things.
Thank you so much. Thank you for elaborating on that. Now, going forward, what future trends or best practices in Agile should traditional PMs stay aware of to remain effective and competitive?
Yeah, let me give you a sort of generalized, it's our final shift I want to talk about, but then give you some real specifics. So this is the third shift, and it answers this question. Really, it's focusing on decentralizing decision-making. So move from centralized decision-making to decentralized decision-making. And we're seeing this trend more and more. And the more you can do this, the faster your teams will be. So what do we mean by that? We mean that, like, on traditional projects, much of the decision-making is sort of centralized. It happens at the top and cascades down right through the project plan and right on down to the team. And there's some problems with that approach. It assumes that, like, the most senior person is best equipped to make all the decisions. Well, what if that's not true? Or it creates an environment where most people aren't engaged in the critical thinking and problem solving needed if they did have a chance to have the decision. So instead, we consider decentralizing as many decisions as possible. And you might be wondering, well, gosh, how can I do that? Well, you can't just sort of stand teams up and say, okay, congratulations, you get to make all the decisions. Oh, you can't do that. But instead, what we want to do is we say you can't delegate until you educate. So project managers, you've got to teach teams how to how to replace what they're being told what to do every day to becoming, critical thinkers, and they're solving these gnarly problems. You got to move authority to where the information is. You got to give them control, and you give control and you create leaders. There's a wonderful TED talk by retired Navy Captain David Marquet on this that I just can't speak highly enough from his book, Turn the Ship Around, where he talks about decentralizing decision-making. But that's the high-level shift. I also promised I'd give you a tactical tip. Project managers, if you're not using large language models like OpenAI, start today. Let today be the day that you create your, and I don't care what you use. You can go to OpenAI and create your ChatGPT login and for free begin to mess with it. You can use copilot.microsoft.com. You can use Claude. You can use Perplexity. Those are kind of the bigs in the space today. But get accounts. I use all of them, and I use them every day. And because I'll ask a question. I'll need help tuning up an email. I might give it my Microsoft project plan and ask it to map out the critical path. Great. Like, use a large language model. I don't care what tool you use, but please start using them today, because that's going to be the game changer in 2025 and beyond.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for chiming that in. So basically, if I might add to that, I hope everyone has, so for the audience, one of the beautiful things about the way Mike has answered the questions, he hasn't spoken to a specific certification. No, he's spoken to practical value being the focus. Just as he started, there's a difference between, so failing projects, the enterprise has been executing projects and they've failed, or, when it comes to the numbers, it's clear that they are leaked. There's a huge drainage somewhere, right? But with adopts in any agile approach, right? What they need to see is the value being delivered and what it means in terms of numbers. And once they see that, they're fine, right? So he hasn't mentioned any. Yes, I know that he also trains, right?
Yeah.
You can mention.
It doesn't mean it's not important. I do sell training. That's true.
Definitely. He also trains, and I'll get to that. I'll get to that shortly. But I like the fact that you can sense that this we are not here to market anything to you, really. We are here to just share value and give value. And I really appreciate Mike for being on the same page with us on that. Now I can rightfully ask the question. And question is, do you have any product or service or workshop coming up shortly that the audience should be aware of?
Yeah, thanks for that. We at Kyrise, we are the global leader in self-paced certified Agile training. We partnered with IC Agile, the International Consortium for Agile, to be there. We actually started this off with them in 2021 because most Agile training is a 2-day instructor-led course, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's great. I'm a instructor. I taught a class this week on Scrum with Kanban, but it's not the answer for everybody. Self-paced, the ability to consume on any device whenever I'm ready, in between different projects. I can get smarter in the evenings and on the weekends. We saw a miss there. Certainly, you can go to Udemy and watch a 30-minute training, but you're going to get what you pay for there too. So we wanted to have a certified course from IC Agile, and we offer the IC Agile Certified Professional, which is a fundamental course. And then 2 weeks ago, we launched our Agile Project Management course, which is the ICP APM certification. And today, they're both available at a bundled price on our website that is going to be cheaper than any 2-day training you've ever been to. And we're going to get you 2 certifications at the end. Highly recommend them. You can visit us at kyrise.com. We have our winter coupon savings already up there, so we're giving it a good cost there. But it's kyrise.com. I'm sure the links will be in the meeting notes here. And we would love to interact with you. The last thing on that, like, you might be thinking, self-paced training, gross. I've been to corporate training with PowerPoints, and it's not that. These are like YouTube videos. They're 5 minutes each. I'm a bit of a corny guy, so I tell bad jokes. We've got great motion graphics. We've got other videos that come in, and I've got my clone. It's called Ask Mike. My clone is in the class with you. So at any time you can ask my clone any question, and it's just like you're interacting with me. It has all of my training, all of my videos, all of my LinkedIn posts, every blog article, every newsletter I've ever written. That's its foundation. It's a large language model, and it will answer you with links back to the course on where I talk about stuff. So check us out at kyrise.com. We'd love to get to know you there.
That's fantastic. And I guess that's the way to also get to you, apart from LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, I mean, easiest way is LinkedIn. I respond to all my messages. So you can just look me up on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find, and happy to connect there as well.
Awesome. All right. If you have enjoyed this episode, share what resonated with you the most. We value your feedback, and because your success as an IT project manager matters to us in the world. Our mission is to help you excel, so don't miss the next video on the screen. And remember, every man is the architect of his fortunes. Thank you.